In the green hills of Bethlehem, there lived a young boy named David. He was the youngest of 8 brothers. His life was simple and quiet. Each morning, as the sun painted the sky with soft colors of pink gold, David would lead his father's sheep out to the fields. He watched over them with great care. He made sure they had fresh grass to eat, cool water to drink. David knew every sheep by name. While David was peacefully tending his sheep, a great fear was spreading through the land of Israel. A powerful army, the Philistines, had come to fight against King Saul and his soldiers. The 2 armies faced each other from opposite hills, with a wide valley in between. Every morning and every evening, a huge problem would appear. A giant of a man named Goliath would stride out from the Philistine camp. He was taller than any man anyone had ever seen. He was covered in heavy bronze armor that gleamed menacingly in the sun. His spear was as thick as a weaver's beam. Goliath's voice was like thunder. It boomed across the valley, filled with scorn and challenge. He would shout insults at the army of Israel.
"Why do you come out and line up for battle? Send one man down to fight me."
One day, David arrived at the army camp. His father had sent him with supplies for his brothers. As he came near, he heard a great commotion. Soldiers running, soldiers hiding. Then he saw him, the giant Goliath, tall and proud in the valley below. Goliath shouting his daily challenge, dripping with contempt. Crowd and soldiers reacting, fearful and ashamed. David's heart burned with indignation. David turned to the soldiers near him. He asked, "What will be done for the man who defeats this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel?" When David's oldest brother Eliab heard him talking to the soldiers, he became very angry. Eliab was a tall and handsome soldier, and he looked down on his youngest brother.
"Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle."
Undeterred by his brother's harsh words, David made his way to King Saul. The soldiers, amazed by his bravery, brought him before the king. Saul looked at the young man standing before him. He saw a boy with rosy cheeks, not a seasoned warrior.
"You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth."
Now that King Saul had given his permission, he wanted to give David, the best possible chance of survival. He decided to equip David with his own personal armor. The king's attendants brought out the royal gear. They placed a heavy bronze helmet on David's head. They helped him into a tunic of heavy chainmail. They buckled a large, heavy sword to his side. Dressed in the king's battle gear, David looked like a small child playing dress-up. He tried to walk. He took a few clumsy steps. The armor was too heavy and awkward. It weighed him down. His movements, which were usually quick and nimble, became slow and restricted. He needed to rely on his own skills and his own methods.
With respect, David turned to King Saul. "I cannot go in these," he said, "because I am not used to them."
Having refused the king's armor, David walked away from the royal tent and headed toward the valley. He did not go empty-handed. He carried his shepherd's staff in one hand. In his other hand, he held his sling. He walked down to the brook at the bottom of the valley of Elah. The water gurgled over smooth, worn rocks. David bent down and looked at the stones in the stream bed. He was searching for the right ones. He needed stones that were smooth, dense, perfectly rounded. David chose 5 smooth stones. One by one, he placed them into his leather shepherd's bag. As David crossed the valley floor, Goliath saw him approaching. The giant looked at the young boy with contempt and disbelief. He saw a youth with a shepherd's staff, not a warrior with a spear. Goliath was insulted. He felt that the Israelites were mocking him by sending a mere boy to fight him.
"Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?"
The Philistine champion began to curse David, filled with arrogant pride, certain of his victory. But David was not afraid. He stood his ground and shouted back,
"You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied."
The talking was over. The time for action had come. As Goliath moved closer to attack him, David did not wait. He ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the giant. While running, David reached into his shepherd's bag. His hand closed around a smooth stone chosen from the brook. He placed the stone into the leather pouch of his sling in one fluid motion. He had done this thousands of times before. David began to whirl the sling around his head. faster and faster, a blur, building speed and momentum. At the perfect moment, David released the sling. The stone shot out like an arrow. It flew straight and true, aimed at the unprotected spot, the giant's forehead. The stone struck between the eyes. The giant stopped in his tracks. He swayed like a great tree cut down. He crashed face down in the dirt. The giant was dead. A stunned valley-long silence. Then a massive cheer erupted from the Israelites, fear replaced by triumphant joy. The Philistines saw their hero fall and panicked. They turned and ran in terror. The Israelites surged forward in pursuit. The shepherd boy had done the impossible. With a single stone, he defeated the giant and saved his people. He had become a hero. David's victory over Goliath was more than just the end of a battle. It was the beginning of a new chapter for him and for the entire nation of Israel. He showed that faith and cleverness could overcome even the most terrifying obstacles. The soldiers, who had been cowering in fear for 40 days, were now filled with a renewed sense of hope and bravery. He was no longer just a shepherd boy from Bethlehem. He was a national hero. The story of David and Goliath has been told for thousands of years because it speaks to a deep truth in all of us. It teaches us that we should not be defined by what others think of us, but by the courage in our hearts and the strength of our convictions.